So following on from that, we had a lot of comments. We had a lot of love after the first pod. Really thrilled with the feedback. And we want you to know that we read the comment section of every clip, of every YouTube post, of every reel. And to our South African friends in the Republic, we understand that there were plenty of comments about us focusing on the guys from South Africa who they could not afford to lose, the likes of Creel, Malcolm Marx, and Damian Willemse. And there were plenty of comments around, well, what if Cam Roigard goes down or Jordie Barrett? So right now we're just going to focus on the three key guys, which I think the All Blacks cannot afford to go down. And we'll start off with one guy who has been under an injury cloud, Cam Roigard. By a country mile, the best 9 in New Zealand at the moment. There isn't really anyone currently in the squad that plays like him. You could argue Noah Hofum's probably the most similar, and he's being called up as an injury replacement because of the injury cloud that's there. Kyle Preston and Cortez Radimer have shared the minutes. What do you make of Cam Roigard and how important he is to New Zealand's current game plan with the zippy passes, the sniping around the breakdown? He's a pretty key figure, eh?
His decision making is unreal, and like what that does to the New Zealand attack, especially his combination with Ruben Love. But when he's got good go forward ball, Cam Roigard just makes really great decisions, and his ability to distribute, but also take the ball off the back of the breakdown and just tighten the defense, make sure that they're always thinking about him as an option and his pace to get through. Like, it's so key to what the All Blacks are trying to achieve. And you're spot on. Like, nobody else in the All Black squad does it quite like him. I think there's elements of other halfbacks that have parts of what he has. Like, I think Kyle Preston is that guy that sort of picks up the ball and looks to take those opportunities around the breakdown and the side of the ruck. And his distribution's quite good too, but his decision making sometimes is just not as world class as Cam Roigard's. And Cortez Radimer is probably a slightly different style of halfback, plays a little bit more traditional and doesn't quite have the same level of zip as Cam Roigard. So without Cam Roigard there, I think New Zealand would lose a fair bit of their attacking prowess and just ultimately making the right decision at the right time. I like how Noah Hofum's been brought in. I think he's probably one of the guys that was a very unlucky omission from the initial squads, and was surprised they didn't go with the fourth halfback in the enlarged squad for the 44-man. But yeah, I think if Cam Roigard goes down, then it's going to be pretty tough. I think when it comes to who they pick for this first test, I think Cam Roigard, they're going to go on with some, not necessarily some concerns. They wouldn't play him if he wasn't 100% fit, and he's a very fit beast. I think they'll go with Cortez Radimer to be the backup, just based on the fact that he's got great more test level experience than Preston, and obviously Hofum's only just been brought in, so there's a bit of adjustment for him there.
Yeah, and it'll be quite a big one in terms of not necessarily if Roigard is fit, because they will pick him if he is ready to take the field, but who replaces him? Can he go the distance with that injury cloud around him? Does that put more strain on the body ahead of quite a big 4 weeks coming up for the team? A name that was getting thrown around quite a lot at the end of last year was Dylan Pledger. I think he was called into the Highlanders squad earlier this season, but has been subsequently ruled out, I think, with an ACL injury. There's big raps on this guy. And I think, do you think this is a guy that is kind of more like for like with Roigard, that could potentially step up to the plate, kind of in a similar way to how Roigard did in the World Cup year of 2023? He could come into the squad, really impressed, and play the house down for the Highlanders if he gets a chance. What do you reckon of Dylan Pledger?
Dylan Pledger's a great talent. Obviously, he had it all snatched away from him earlier this year with his ACL injury, and there's a fair bit of rehab involved there. I'm not sure we'll see much of him before the Rugby World Cup over the next 15 months in the black jersey. I think that he's one for post 2027, and he'll look to have a really great Super Rugby season next year for the Highlanders when he comes back. But I think in the next World Cup cycle, he'll be pressing a number of claims and definitely be in and around a lot of those squads. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
you heard
definitely
it.
one for the future.
For sure. Keep an eye out for this guy, Dylan Pledger, guys. If you haven't watched the NPC in New Zealand, this guy is very, very sharp. Going on to the following position, Jordie Barrett. Now, since I wrote these guys down, we've seen a pretty brilliant performance by the centres on Saturday by Anton Leonard-Brown and Rieko Ioane. The consensus for myself before was that if Barrett goes down, Tapia has to move in one, and then I think New Zealand are a little bit light on a world-class 13. We talked about it in the previous pod that Jesse Creel for the Springboks, if he goes down, the gap between him and Kanan Moody or Ethan Hooker, whoever comes in, is quite large. And I think we're sort of looking at the same thing here. But Rieko Ioane did do a very good job on Saturday against the Bulls. He's proven that, he's in form. He's ready to take the mantle if a guy like Jordie Barrett goes down. What do you make of that? Do you think this is blown out of proportion, or is Jordie Barrett really a key figure in this All Black squad now?
He's a very key figure, and I think that there is still a gap. He's world class, Jordie Barrett, and the way that he's playing at the moment is really in the top one or two of number 12s in the game at the moment. And it's again, I think I mentioned it with Roigard, it's his decision making and his ability to finish off those clutch plays and be the right person at the right time. And I think that they would really miss him if he was to go down. He covers a lot of things in the backfield as well, which can be made up by other players. But yeah, he would be a big out if he was to go down. And I wouldn't be quite sure of what the makeup would be of the All Blacks if he was to go down, whether Quinn would move into 12 and Rieko into 13. He's only had a handful of minutes, but Jim Tabatava Nawai has been a man possessed. Like his ball carrying and his ability over the ball would just offer something completely different to Jordie, but I think would add some real punch off the bench. But I would probably lean more towards Quinn moving into 12 and Rieko into 13 if Jordie was to go down. And Rieko does bring that experience. He's played 13 for the All Blacks for a number of years, so it's not like he's been thrown into it. He's very accustomed to playing in that 13 role, and likewise Quinn playing at 12. He was Super Rugby Player of the Year, MVP, playing in a 12 jersey for the Chiefs, which gives me the confidence that he could step into that 12 jersey for the All Blacks like nothing had happened.
Just going on back to Tabatava now. This guy seems like someone that could be a Lester Fainga'anuku, Ben Earl, Andre Esterhausen kind of player that could step into the back row if he was required. Unbelievable over the ball. I would keep an eye out on Tabatava now. I'd be very surprised if he didn't continue his World Cup this kind of form, that he surely would be selected in the World Cup squad because of his ability to potentially cover those positions. That might be me talking out of my behind, but he does seem like the kind of guy that can cover the back row and potentially become a hybrid player like Lester Fainga'anuku. Finally, the big man, the leader, the man who is, and I'll say it, carried New Zealand, the All Blacks, more or less on his shoulder the last, I think, 7 years in the black jersey, more than any All Blacks player in history. The likes of McCaw, Reid, the likes of Carter, these guys never had to carry the All Blacks on their shoulder in the way that Ardie Savea has had to. He's taken on the mantle of captaincy now. He's done it 2 years out under a new coaching staff ahead of the World Cup. Where have we heard that before? South African fans. What do you make of Ardie Savea?
Yeah, his influence on the squad on and off the field is enormous. He's almost Siya Kolisi like to the All Blacks, as is the way I'd put it. He has this aura, and I think that he would be a massive out for the All Blacks on the field. I think there's a part of it that his time away over the last few weeks has kind of tried to make the All Blacks adjust to life without him, just in case that was ever to pop up. And we've got pretty good depth in the loose forward positions at the moment, but nobody does it like Ardie. He is enormous both sides of the ball. He carries 10 plus per game, tackles the house down, and is great over the ball and at the breakdown. So he would be a massive out. But I feel that there's probably some guys there that could bridge the gap a little bit, but would not be the same All Black side without him, that's for sure.
Ardie Savea blows my mind consistently so often. You look back to the 2022 series against the Irish, New Zealand having one of their worst periods in history. Obviously, we touched on Ellis Park's game earlier, but going down to Ireland 2-1 on home soil, losing to Ireland for the first time, the team seemed to be in tatters. Everything seemed disjointed. But within all of that, the big man, Ardie Savea, kept putting performance up after performance. He scored 3 tries in that series. In the first test, scoring 2. It was very much noticed in the second test after the red card to offer Angus Tarval, when they took him off the field, where the All Blacks really struggled without him. The second half performance in that series in that third test against the Irish, when they were 22-3 down, he did what I just mentioned before. He literally grabbed the whole team, chucked them on the back of his shoulders, and said, "Come with me, I'm going to get us out of this." And he very nearly did it. Ardie Savea is beyond special. And when I look at him as a leader, it's not to disrespect the other leaders that have been in and around the squad, but he makes teams better. He unites countries. I'm not even Kiwi, but I can tell the whole country is behind this guy. And you could tell the same thing happened when he was playing for Moana Pacifica last year. The man is absolutely legendary. And I'm not an All Blacks fan, but you'd hate to see a guy like that end his career without winning a World Cup. Let's see what happens over the next 18 months. But the fact that this guy is leading that All Blacks team makes me very wary of this current All Blacks team. I was wary before July, and I'm even more wary now that this All Blacks team is dangerous, especially with Ardie Savea at the helm.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to the thing that South Africa have really tapped into is the essence of playing for something bigger, playing for not just yourself, being more powerful than the 23 people combined. And he brings that real sense of there is something bigger at play here. I'll actually be very interested to see how he performs as a captain on the field in this series. I think it's a very big test in the way that he conducts himself with the referees and controls, I guess, the game and the narrative. I think that would be a pretty interesting side piece for just how far his leadership has come to be able to control the game and ideally control the referee and outcomes as well for the All Blacks.
Definitely.